this airport does have some opportunities to do things that don't necessarily increase its impact on the community. As a matter of fact, it can improve the quality of life, or certainly the experience as you travel through the airport. And when we look at what that terminal could be, what changes might make sense, and how do you make reasonableness and customer service and all those things kind of get tossed into the mix, we see that we need improved security screening location, we need improved baggage claim area and baggage security area, we need a larger secured hold area for folks to be while they're waiting for their airplane. And those are the key critical kind of choke points that we think we need to address somehow, some way over the next number of years. Yeah, will it increase the size of the terminal building? I think so. I don't know how you can accomplish those goals without changing the amount of square footage that might be needed. I think the magic in doing it well will be that we don't lose the intimacy that exists in this existing building and changes that might occur, and that we design it well so it doesn't look bigger than it needs to look, and that we can try to use different characteristics and architectural methods and landscaping and other things to try to make sure that it feels right-sized by viewpoint, but still accomplishes its goal to make sure the customer feels comfortable and can safely and easily move through the terminal building. Our terminal building here in Aspen just has such a unique flavor, and it's appreciated by visitors and locals alike. And it has some very special characteristics about being kind of smallish and compact and intimate, and we regularly hear from the community about how that's really important to them, that this terminal feel and act like the community wants it to be. The cool part is that we're in the process of gathering thoughts from the community, because the more input we can get to how we can make improvements that really matter to the customer and to the community, are the ones we're really after. Some things that have come forward might be that we move the check-in process out to closer to where the parking actually is, so folks have an easier time getting rid of their checked luggage and kind of get that step quickly behind them. And then through security, and they can start to kind of think about the next step of their flight. We've talked about how we can build a system where folks are able to leave their bags at the hotel and then find them at their destination airport if they're leaving our community, or vice versa. People are arriving at the community and they could have already had their bags delivered to their final destination, a hotel or condo or whatever that might look like, and so that there's less hassle, less issues for folks to be concerned about when they travel. And I think there's a movement in the airport industry to try to find a way to recapture some of the things that made air travel, a better experience historically than some people feel it is today. And those are the kind of points we really need to focus on here as we consider what we want our airport to feel like and look like. The history of this facility and this terminal in particular go back really to World War II, and time when it was a reliever airport for military airplanes that were traveling from place to place. And then Tom Sardi and some others got involved and really turned it into a really excellent facility post-World War II. Along the way, we've had a number of terminal buildings. It really started as a small little shack, and probably some of the visitors have seen that in different archive photos. The reality is that we've grown from tiny little facilities to a couple of larger facilities, and we ultimately stitched 3 buildings together that is the current facility, and those were completed a little over 20 years ago. And so it has its own issues, but it's a very special place, I think. The existing terminal building it really has not evolved from changes that we've seen happen over the past 10 years, really since 9/11. When security changes started to take place, it put a lot of pressure on the building and the customer service aspect especially. Most people have noticed that we now see a number of these kiosks. Most airlines now have them, most airports have them, where people electronically can check in, take care of their bags, do those kind of things. Now here at the Aspen Pitkin County Airport, we've got behind us is some space the TSA needs to be able to handle the bags. And you can see the carts, you can see how folks have to go to the ticket counter, drag them over to the TSA. Those it takes up a bunch of square footage. It's a bit of a challenge, and it's not quite the customer service experience that we'd like it to be. Continuing over this space, you can see the ticket counters for United, you can see the ticket counters for Frontier. We do have some room for some expansion of airline service. We're hopeful that happens as well. You know, one of the things that, in moving toward the Transportation Security Administration checkpoint, one of the things that causes us some challenges and difficulties is the change in elevation that occurs from this space right here, where people have checked in and dropped their bags off, up to the TSA's secured checkpoint. So there's not a lot of queue space here for people to line up. There's also a challenge because of that incline that folks who may have a physical challenge or on crutches, that kind of thing, have trouble standing on this incline for very long. It also limits the number of tables that we can put in front of the X-ray machine for people to be able to put their bags and get themselves ready to go through the machines. The fact is that people now, as a majority, arrive at the terminal building much sooner. So now they're here an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before their flight. And then they want to get through security because that's a stress point for folks. They want to make sure that they've got that part handled and they can kind of settle into the seat in the holding area. At 9/11, we didn't even have bathrooms on the secured side after you'd gone through security. And we had to make some modifications in a very quick manner to even allow bathrooms to exist over there. There weren't facilities for food or magazines or any of the things that you might expect because historically the building, folks just came quickly through and onto the airplane and off they went. And as you can see, it's a pretty congested space. We've got some remodeling that's taken place to account for gift and news and some food and beverage and snack choices and that kind of thing. But it's there's not a lot of elbow room in here, and this is a pretty quiet day overall. When we've got a lot of delayed flights and cancellations, it really gets challenging, and some of our folks probably experienced that in the past. We're moving from where the Transportation Security Administration has their checkpoint over into the common area of the terminal building. You know, the restaurants here, food and beverage, and it's such a contrast to what we see in the secured area. Here there's kind of good vibes, there's music a lot of days, we've got the food and beverage. Folks enjoy themselves here. But the changes, the way that security's moved in the last few years, means that folks want to get quickly to the secured checkpoint and through and settled in. So this space has kind of changed over the years. However, there are days when this is one of the most special places in the terminal to be, because it's where families reconnect, or loved ones get a chance to get a hug and a kiss. We allowed leash dogs. They're part of the family too, and it's all part of what kind of makes this area unique and have a special characteristic. And we're moving from where the passengers come into the terminal building, and now we're climbing back up another 4 or 5 feet into baggage claim. It has its own sets of challenges as well. We're here, we only have 2 bag belts. You know, when we have more than one flight coming in, people have to figure out what flight is actually being loaded onto the belts and how that's all going to work for them. So there's lots of congestion. We have multiple flights on the ground at the same time. Additionally, we've got baggage that may have been disconnected from the passenger because of weather delays, or sometimes we have to bus bags up to the community because of flight cancellations, those kind of things. And so we end up with bags, sometimes in the numbers of hundreds, located here at the airport. And we have to find a way, or the airlines do, to get those bags reconnected with those customers, and to do so quickly, because most of the time those folks want those skis, the warm clothes, those kind of things back in their hotel rooms as quick as possible. There's a lot about this terminal building that isn't immediately visible. Most of them are the fact that we've tried to stitch multiple buildings together. A lot of the systems like air conditioning and heating systems weren't really integrated, and now they're really showing the age. They've been in place for 20 or 30 years, sometimes 40 years, and we work really hard to make sure that they still work well, but at some point the efficiency of those systems, simply is going to force their replacement, and the space does not exist behind the walls to change out, for example, the heating system for the terminal building. That boiler system, in current technology using high-end efficiency units, the square footage available in those rooms just isn't adequate to do that replacement. So we're kind of patching those things together. And we're quickly approaching that here at the airport, where it just makes sense from an energy standpoint, from a overall efficiency standpoint, and customer comfort. We're going to have to make some big changes to make sure that it's a good place to be when you need to be here.